but bathroom cleaning is big for me.
Humongous.
Huge. And to clean a comic's apartment bathroom, I should be the most praised man in this city. To share a bathroom with 2 comics and then be like, I'm about to wash this bathtub out right now.
That's definitely how, like, maybe not COVID-19, but at least 10 of the other COVIDs, they started in a comics bathroom for sure.
1,000%.
Man, you straight from the south side. Mike, man. I'm just so happy to be here right now. Real Rap Podcast.
And then you go through all that, you clean your bathroom, it's sparkling, you feel good about, you want to send a picture to your mom, and then you brush your teeth and you get the little white little dots on the mirror and you go, what was the point?
What are we talking about? What are we doing here?
Dude, we're born to die. There's no point to any of it.
Yeah, and we got one of those like hot girl mirror light things around the bathroom mirror.
The ones that put the glowy circle in your eye.
Oh yeah, the glowy circle in the eye. That's the exact way to articulate.
The Pantene Pro V commercial eye.
Called the thought light. And that light will remind you about all those little sparkles on the fucking. And I'm sitting there wiping this shit down, and
Oh yeah, I love the thought. What was it?
The thought light.
Thought light. You never look better.
It also can scare the shit. I mean, they talk about that with the hotel bathrooms because they have them too. The last one I was just in had one, and that shit will check you. That shit will make you feel a type of way.
Oh, just hazy, low bluish, fluorescent lights.
it's like I'll get high before I go anywhere, and I go check myself in the mirror. I'm like, damn, you high. It's like,
yeah.
Why don't we tone this mirror down so I don't feel as bad about how stoned I look right now?
Hotel fluorescent lights will give you that feeling like, did I get bit by that zombie? Mm-hmm. No, right? Oh, no, I'm changing.
It'll show you that 5 o'clock shadow you don't think you're in. That shit looks gross.
Hey, we are back with another episode. Real Rap Podcast, episode 40. This is fantastic. So this is actually the afternoon of a day, but we're 2 comics, so it feels like 6:30 in the morning for construction workers.
Oh yeah.
But I'm
still asleep.
Have a talented young comic on the rise, Adam Addis. If you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, letting the fine folks at home know a little about your name, how long you been in the city, how long you been in the comedy game, what you got going on.
Yep. So Adam Addis. I don't care to correct it. It's something that It's one of the things that when someone first brought me up.
You got to have the little Spanish thing over the eye.
Something I know. I got to figure out a way to like confuse people. They're like, all right, and I get why they say it, but Adam Addis from Salisbury, Maryland. I've been doing comedy about 6 years now. Technically from like that first time on stage, I guess, and COVID included, whatever. Been in Chicago now 5 years as of October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, follow me on Instagram. I got a special on YouTube.
Fire.
But yeah, from Maryland.
Now I know your background, and we've mixed it up, talked on stage, off stage, whatever, what have you. And then we also did a podcast together, a different podcast together. So I know a little bit about your background. How at this point in your life, is it frustrating? Is it common? Is it not a big deal when people say, hey, are you Puerto Rican? Are you Dominican? Are you Native American? Are you...
Well, it's funny because I talk about that now with so I'm Ethiopian, for people that don't know. And
how often do people say, wait...
They're like, you something.
Lionel Richie is your uncle?
There's always a concern. They're like... And it comes from all spectrums of race, age.
Of course.
Because black people are like, but you're not black, right? It's And then people don't know where Ethiopia is. They're like, but is that in Africa? And I'm like,
sure.
And then Latinos will think I've been Brazilian, Colombian, Afro-Latin throughout the board, especially with my hair is longer.
Latin X.
Oh, yeah. But it's funny because I kind of want to lean into it more and play around with the idea of like racial ambiguity being like my infinity stone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like also Ethiopians are so scarce in the Midwest, or at least in Chicago.
Yeah.
That the way that I articulate to people here, I'm like, Ethiopians are to DC the way Polish are to Chicago. So there are regular people in Chicago that know Polish last names. They can probably identify a Polish person they see them. They probably know Polish words.
Yeah.
And in the DC community, that's what it's like with Ethiopians. Where we run deep there. So like back there, nothing's weird. Everyone knows what I am. Everyone can.
Sure.
They have inside material. They know Ethiopians. They eat Ethiopian food, whatever. But here it's like, they might know, and they might know one person. Oh, I went to Michigan State with a guy from fucking Ethiopia. I had a roommate in college, but playing the racial ambiguity aspect of it, especially in a heavy Latino city like that too, where like I don't know any fucking Spanish and.
It's just occurring to me that when I look around, as far as like restaurant spots, typically you're really only going to see like an Ethiopian food-based restaurant. I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing a whole lot of Cameroon restaurant spots. I don't see a lot of Nigerian. You're only going to see.
Ethiopian food is definitely highly regarded. In Uptown, they got a few different. They've got a few Ethiopian restaurants, but other. I knew a Nigerian lady with a restaurant, and there's actually a place. I think it's like 80th and something, but I had this manager that I worked with, and he's from Kenya. And this spot, the only thing they sell is goat meat. That's it. You can't buy bread. You can't buy sauce. You can't buy soda. You
Not
just
a
go
grain
in,
of rice.
but it's just goat meat, and it's fire.
It's fire. Goat meat is fire.
Incredible. But I had heard about it through him, and I never really thought about it like that because I guess I was always so accustomed to the idea that Ethiopian food is so romanticized that it makes sense for. And again, I have family members who own Ethiopian restaurants, so like,
Sure.
it doesn't feel weird to me. But I guess it's like saying there's no Guatemalan restaurants.
Yeah.
You know, in Mexican restaurants, you might have Argentinian steakhouses, things like that. But there are certain. Oh well, now I'm gonna.
Like I can't think of too many spots I can go get mofongo. Then again,
I know.
I don't
go out of your way to get
Yeah, and I'm not in Humboldt Park every week. You know what I mean? But I know a few spots here and there, like out south or whatever. But I'm a Mexican restaurant. Ping it right now. I could throw a rock from here, hit 5 of them at once before it hits the ground. You know what I mean? So are you? Directly, how many generations from migrating to the States is your family?
So my parents were both born there, met in D.C. I was born here, obviously. I still got family there. Most are here or somewhere else in the world, but mostly in America. And it's cool. I was out there last year for a wedding. Last time I went was in 2007. And it's an experience. I mean, I don't know how much international traveling you've ever done, but that's like the one. Even everyone that I talked to, I remember like joking about it with Blake and Jeff, because I come back and I had so much fun. I want to go back as much as I can. But they're like, "Yo, I'm trying to go." I'm like, "I'm trying to bring everybody out, bro." Like, one, go to Africa in general. Two, like with having cousins and family, and like now being an adult and kind of, and I don't speak the language well, and like I can understand a little bit, but
what's the primary language?
Amharic.
Amharic.
Okay. Yeah. And my cousins, they live there, they party there, they work there, they know how to maneuver. So it's like to go out with them and just be like, let's go drink it to the sun, let's eat great food, drink dope coffee, and
now outside of the movies, and this isn't just for Ethiopia or Africa, but outside of the movie, most people are informed by movies. So when you say Ethiopia, I would imagine most people have bloop. Okay, this is what the movies told me.
It's funny you say movies. It's not movies. It's the UNICEF commercial.
It's the for just a.
And I've been trying to do it on stage where I'm like, I think that commercial misrepresents what's happening. Is that because the food, Ethiopian food, is a communal eating.
Yeah.
So they have the injera laid out. They have all the food on the plate, and everyone eats together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think what really happened was they served food. The food is so good. Everybody was so excited to eat that the white guys was like, "Wow, these guys are starving." It's like, no. My parents hate that joke. They hate that. They hate that I think like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's such a silly concept that the place that's revered as impoverished, that was branded as hungry as shit.
Yeah.
Now the food is culturally, like you said, of the African. There's no how many African restaurants
You
you hear
said
about.
Kenyan, and that you have a somebody you know that has a Kenyan restaurant. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you the last time I opened up
Uber Eats.
and it was like
Nigerian
Kenyan
special. Or what,
restaurant. Yeah.
I'm thinking about, I'm literally, because I had said that one goat spot, but I'm even thinking about, like, talking with, like, Mike Robinson. Like, he gets a homie, and, like, we talk
Yeah.
about both Ethiopian food and fufu and shit like that, but we haven't gone anywhere. He's always offered his
Yeah.
mom's food. Now I'm really, like, going to do some deep investigating, because I'm even thinking about, like, food cities. There's like Chicago is a food city for sure,
Yeah.
but like New York, DC, LA, places I've been, places I've eaten, places I know about, premier Ethiopian restaurants, never heard anything about anything else. Or African restaurants specifically, that is.
Well, whenever I'm at like my salon, it's the same rotation of it's the Jamaican spot guy comes in, Ethiopian spot guy comes in. I think it's basically those two
Probably
that
the
are
same place.
selling plates. Yeah,
That's the funny thing too, because I've given people that warning where I'm like, if there's a Jamaican place that sells Ethiopian food, don't fuck with that. You're crossing.
I've started,
And I know why it exists. Like, I'm down with the raw. Like, it's like Haile Selassie is the guy.
Yeah,
There is a relationship between Ethiopians and Jamaicans, but you got to be focused on one.
This might be controversial, but I've started to be there's a couple of spots in this neighborhood that are Mexican chefed Chinese spots, and I'm like, I'm not mad.
That's for some reason that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I don't know why the idea of a Spanish-speaking hibachi chef doesn't bother me. Honestly, my aunt at her restaurant, her Ethiopian restaurant, had a Mexican cook in there. Now
You almost have to, I would think, at this point.
And again, they put the work in. Across the board, across cuisine palettes, I've seen a Mexican person in the kitchen doing their thing. Yeah.
As far as the brighter side of stereotypes, they really that's their number one with a bullet. Who's the hardest workers? Everybody throws out the Mexican one.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's not even just that they work hard, but they work hard and well, and like in the things that they do, like it's like the food thing. Like they're so good at food in their own regard that they can master other people's food.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
like Italian people can make dope ass Italian food, but then ask them to make you some tacos. It's not going to work the same way. But if you ask a Mexican person to chef up something else outside of their palate, I bet you they're going to hit it on the nose.
How many ways can you make tacos? And there's 27 taco spots in a 5-block radius from here.
Well, that's what would fuck me up, because my mom's best friend that I grew up around is Colombian. So I used to eat at her home, and I had a friend's mother who was Mexican. So usually the Latino cuisines that I would eat were homemade from somebody who's direct from the country. But we had bogus ass spots growing up in Maryland, like, small town Maryland, like our Mexican spot. I'm like offended that I was impressed with that Mexican food. Then I come here, and again, I have, coworkers and people's families and things like that. And like the level of attention to detail in the ingredients that impacts that experience is huge.
I think you hit on something in my mind just now. A lot of times, a lot of the times, if I have Spanish food, Mexican food, it feels like somebody's mama's cooking.
And even in the worst situations, in the lowest bar of Mexico, like I said, even like
the shittier the better.
If you go to fucking Dayton, Ohio, and go into what they call a Mexican restaurant, it's still gonna be gas. But then to know that the gas can get even higher than that is like, the bar is just. And then when you actually get to somebody's fucking grandma's house, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna eat this shit.
Yeah,
man.
I love Italian food, but when I go to like an Italian restaurant, I'm like, I don't.
Doesn't feel like no. Doesn't feel
It's
like
not mama's cooking.
No.
It is chef to the nine. It's like a 4-star experience,
It's awesome.
and you want to do this for some reason, but it's like not like I don't.
I'm saying extra N words in the Italian restaurant. Like,
But if I go to a Spanish spot and they brought it to me just wrapped up in like tinfoil or paper, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'm still gonna eat it. I mean, Jesus, the tamale guy
comes out of a fucking plastic bag at 3
and just pops up at whatever bar you're at, and you just trust him with food. Name another group of people that are gonna pop up
selling garlic
Could you
bread.
imagine if somebody came in with baked ziti in a.
That the funny part is they try the pizza thing. The guys that do bring, they carry the pizzas around,
Like, if you don't get that out of my
and
fucking
everybody's pissed. That's a last resort. It's like, now where's the tamale guy at there? It's like, yo, is he behind you? Is he parking? Are you guys gonna take turns? Who's going for, and you know. I get so mad when I have to buy that pizza at Ale House. I get so because it's like, you know, it's hungry. It's 3 a.m. But I'm like, God, you know, it's funny when I first moved here. I had never had a tamale before moving here, and it was probably at Kohl's, but just drunk. Got tamales, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, food, and I get it, and I had no idea about that fucking wrap, bro. And I bit straight into it.
You bit into the corn husk?
So aggressively because I was so hungry. And this lady was sitting next to me, and she was like, baby. And then she goes and opens up the one sitting next on the plate. I'm like, oh. And then I became an official Chicagoan.
About to say.
Yeah. I became a Chicago kid real quick.
You were like, oh, you're so hungry, baby. Where you from, Ethiopia?
What do you say? Actually,
that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
So, your folks, and you have siblings, right? How many brothers?
3 brothers.
3 brothers, and you're the youngest?
The middle.
You're the middle?
The two youngest are twins, so middle of
Okay. And everybody was born, siblings were all born in America?
All born here, yeah.
What are the values or anything? What are your folks bringing from the old world?
It's funny you say that because, I mean, I'd say probably religion is the hardest one. My parents are very assimilated to American culture. Like, even just having immigrant parents and I'm in entertainment, my brother's in entertainment. Like, we're all, in some aspect, pursuing something in entertainment, which my parents are cool with.
Okay.
But
because typically it feels like the immigrant story is lawyer, doctor,
engineer.
Yeah.
One of the 3. And that's always, that was the intention. That was the pressure applied when we were young. But at a certain point, I think that my parents... it just comes with the age in general, but they treat you like adults where you're like, all right, like, I'm going to do this. And, I did get my degree and I got a job, but I told them, like, hey, this is just my plan. Like, do whatever you got to do. We're here to support you however you want. And now that things are working a little bit, it's cool to get that reaffirmed support. But the values, religion is probably the biggest one, devoutly Orthodox Christian. But outside of that, they're pretty open-minded. With things that, like, I can only imagine. I have friends who come from other cultures that, like, dealt with issues in their family while they were growing up and becoming more American. A friend of mine's sister, they're from Pakistan, Islam faith, and she married a Hindi guy.
Okay.
Dad disowned her. Hasn't talked to her since. And there was, like, this big rigmarole of, like, her... telling her dad about this thing, and it's just like, oh, she's gone, she's dead to me. And it's like, that's not even like, imagine if she was gay, or whatever the case may be. But so I hear stories like that. I know people that are in those positions with their families, and even their own sense of culture and things like that. I'm like, I'm very grateful for how my parents are about that kind of shit.
Culture shock is real. From an American's perspective, you can only think about somebody coming from wherever they're at to here. And you're going to be partial, whatever your feelings are, right? But you move to somebody else's country. Once upon a time, there was back in the day, there was a story about a dude went to Singapore, an American dude, and gum is illegal. Chewing gum is illegal in Singapore. And he had gum out there, spit it on the ground. They caned him before they sent him back to America, and he was like, well, whoever the president is, don't let him beat me, bro. And we were like, you gotta go,
call the embassy.
Yeah, you gotta take that one.
This is the law, bro. It's like,
but in your mind, there's no way to conceptualize that gum's illegal. Do you know who I am? Do you know where I come from? Do you know who my parents are? And they're like, all right, cool, bend over.
That's what people were talking about with the whole Brittany Griner thing. It's like, first of all, she knows what's illegal in Russia.
Yeah.
And there are people that'll take that chance, and the entitlement of, especially like affluent Americans. But that's where it's like, dumb Instagram, hot people want to go to Bali.
Yeah.
And weed is tremendously illegal in Bali.
Yeah.
The amount of surfer bros, whatever, they might go there, they're like, dude, I'm a rich kid from Malibu.
Yeah.
I do what I want. And then now you're going to jail for life over a weed pen in, what could be the most incredible trip of your life. And the entitlement, and that's why I think with the assimilation, or why I'm grateful for the assimilation part of my parents' brain, where they're like, you can make your life more difficult by trying to hold on to certain values that you might hold true to you, but they're adapt or die.
Yeah.
And I think that they came across that on their own being here as young people, and with kids, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't have kids, obviously, and I'm American, so my perspective is totally skewed. But I can't fathom what that was like, adjusting to the culture shock like that,
Gotcha,
and then
yeah.
raising a kid, and all of it to be said. It's crazy.
I wanted to ask. So a decent number of my viewers are not comics,
Okay.
right?
Shout out
but
to
you shout out to every single one of my viewers. I appreciate you guys. Like, share, subscribe. And but essentially, so you essentially work for a corporation, a large corporation in our business, right? And your position in that corporation, I would say, and I could be wrong, let me know, would basically be really close to, say, the HR department for like a corporate America kind of job, right? You're in a pivotal position as far as people coming in, coming out, the ins and outs, and you kind of touch every department.
Customer-facing employee.
Exactly,
Like that,
exactly. So not only in the comedy world, but also in a broader scope, like a day job, a 9 to 5. What are you seeing as far and considering that comedians are employees, right? What are you seeing that does and doesn't work? When a comic comes in and they do X, Y, Z, and you go, oof, they're not gonna make it. Like what does that look like?
Well, it's funny because comedy is so strange and we see this as people that have done open mics.
Yeah,
You remember when you first started, you kind of figured there's all those aspects of it, but at the level of being paid to do comedy,
yeah,
in a professional comedy club setting, in a comedy club in general, this is my rule that I say after working in the space that I have for as long as I have. You need 2 of 3 things to be successful: a good act, a good personality, a good draw. If you have 2 of those 3, you're fine. You can be a bad comedian, but if you're nice and you draw, you'll come back.
Yeah.
You can be hilarious, not draw, nice, you're good. You can be a dick, but if you draw and you're hilarious, nobody's going to say anything. So that's where, in certain aspects of what people, I think that it comes more so with, I call it, what do you call it? Artistic accountability.
Yeah.
Where they have to hold themselves accountable for what they're doing. Where either they know, and obviously we work with a lot of delusional people, but more so than I think any other profession, where people feel a certain type of way about what they're doing, and they know
it's inherently a delusional. It's a delusional thing.
Pursuit. It's ridiculous.
I want to kick myself for saying this, but a prize fighter has to be the same. You have to go out there and tell yourself, I'm the greatest in the world before I get in there and try and pummel this other person.
There's probably more people willing to fight for sport than do what we do.
Yeah,
There's more people signing up for jiu-jitsu and for boxing than there are for open mics. I'm 1,000% sure of that.
Yeah.
They'd more rather run the risk of getting punched in the head than run the risk of getting that wave of ass sweat that happens when you're bombing.
Time out. What did Mike Tyson say? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. Everybody has jokes until it bombs.
Yeah. Everybody has jokes until you hear that. Damn. You hear that?
No.
Hell no. Hey, yo, he's stupid. It's not a good stupid. Man. You hear this?
Or you just hear this.
I hear is, or all you hear is can I get a rum and coke?
Oh, that's hard to listen back to.
Oh yeah. You just hear the espresso martini shaking.
It's funny you mentioned the which I think is an excellent point, and I hope people really focus in on what you're saying, because you definitely you're in a position to be able to speak to that with power. But a draw, attitude, and act. And I think on the corporate America side, especially the positions I've been in, what do they say? If you want something done, you can either get it good, you can get it fast, or you can get it what is it?
I can't remember the last. I know.
Yeah, it's like you can get it done
fast,
good, fast, or
is it fast and good, or da 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 and bad?
Yeah, but you can only get 2 of them.
Something
if you want it fast, well done, or I'll pop up the thing on the Jamie,
Yeah.
could you pull that up on the screen?
Black Jamie, get the
Jaime.
Jamal, hey,
Hey, Jamal, pull it up on the. But what? So I mean, that kind of covers the good and the bad, right? What? Now I've definitely heard the horror stories and I've seen the horror stories of people being just dicks, douches, and they're successful. Or a matter of fact, we was talking about it a little bit a second ago, off camera. Yeah, you're right. Some people are delusional. There was a scenario, and I'm not gonna put anything on blast, but a scenario where somebody was in a double act. They were the marquee, but somebody else was actually killing the stage time. And when there was a decision made, could you speak on that?
Yeah, and it's fun because it's fun to get our perspective and then also the producer's perspective, where the way that we look at how we handle the situation is like, I present the best show possible for the people that are buying tickets.
Right.
But at the same time, it is your show.
Yeah.
And that's like you do, or the one who does call the shot. So it's like, where does that line get drawn? And again, this is where it comes to like why certain people will and will not be successful in entertainment, is that it's still business. And putting your foot down and like standing on what you believe or how you want certain things to happen is how things get done.
That's why I'm not even necessarily thinking that this applies strictly to entertainment. I think this is a career-filled business in general. Everything you just said applies. Like your performance, your attitude,
and the people in your company, your network.
And your network.
Yeah. If you're a real estate agent or a car salesman or anything, it's the same thing.
Sales for sure is a parallel to entertainment.
That's the funny part. I always talk about. I send my buddies who none of them are in entertainment, but just the way that social media has become a part of comedy, they are aware of that. They're all intelligent guys, but I laugh so hard at what social media has become for other business. So I have a lot of friends who do real estate, and it's funny to me that I'm cutting clips and loan officers are cutting clips.
Wow.
And there's an entire market or entire subsection of social media that is just real estate social media. They're cutting funny clips. They're doing trends. They're doing everything. They're trying to go viral. And like it's like, well, to be said, I saw one. There's this guy that was like poking fun at them, but he's like setting the tripod up in the kitchen and it runs, and he's like, "This is to the person, or this is to the real estate agent who's posting reels but hasn't sold a house in 6 months." And that definitely it's the exact same thing when people have viral clips or they have a big following, but they can't draw, they can't sell, and the network is a big part of that. Where it's like, would you rather have a good book of business or pretend online that you have a good book of business? And having legitimate fans that will buy tickets when you come to their city is very different than having 100,000 bots and 100,000.
Yeah. Well, you made an excellent point upstairs that I hadn't even considered, and I told you about it, that some of these folks will have a large following, but depending on what it is that they're putting across their socials, that following, the demographic might not literally be able to buy tickets to get into a club that sells alcohol.
Because we're on social media, we forget that it's for kids.
Ooh, powerful.
When we were all starting on social media, we were high schoolers.
Yeah.
With Facebook and Instagram. When I was in high school, when Instagram came out, I was in high school with Facebook. I got a it was like my big thing that when I got to high school, my mom was like, "Oh, you can make a Facebook account now," and I was excited. I was like, "This is now part of my social life." Same thing exists with Snapchat, TikTok, everything else.
Yeah.
But because we've been so inundated with social media culture, for a 34-year-old, nurse or desk whatever, somebody at a hospital that's on TikTok making videos, they forget that there's a fucking million 17-year-old kids doing the exact same thing. They're actually more on it than we. I mean, I don't know, maybe they're not because they're more cognizant of how bad it is, but and again, you can see the dumbest stuff. You can go to if you have like a business account on, you can look at the demographics of cities, age, gender, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And people know what their demographics are.
Oh yeah.
When the girls are posting their titties and shit like that, and they see 99% men between ages 14 and 55.
Oh, people are checking their analytics.
Oh yeah, analytics are important. You gotta know what you're doing.
I try to be conscious of what you're talking about now when I see like the new Ninja Turtles, and my old man brain goes, "That ain't the Ninja Turtles," and then I have to stop and think, Yeah, it's not supposed to appeal to you, stupid.
Yeah, exactly. You had your time.
Yeah.
To them, your Ninja Turtles is not the Ninja Turtle.
Exactly. It was like, ooh.
The best version of that is Batman.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Everyone has the Batman they choose, the Batman they grew up with. The Batman is the most important to them. And then to the rest, and again, all these Batmans are great. Michael Keaton, Christian Bale. Everyone has an opinion about these Batman.
Well, shit, you did. That's how young you are. Is that? Adam West.
Adam West. I didn't even. Yeah, exactly. And
he's completely out of the picture.
Not
But
even-
he's the first one that, and I could be wrong because there's somebody older than me in the generation before is like, oh, what about James McGillicuddy?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry.
What about actual Bruce Wayne? His name was Bruce Wayne. The character was actually named after
He used to send money to Ethiopia before it was popular. But yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. Because when I look at it, I'm like, Michael Keaton was important because he made it dark. You know, Tim Burton's Batman was the first one that made it like,
So yeah, Tim Burton did what Christian Nolan, or what everyone forget. What Christian Nolan did, Tim Burton did first.
Yeah.
Changed the idea of what Batman could be.
Yeah.
From silly pal kind of to like, oh, this is a whole different approach to an already existing concept. And
yeah. And then it started getting hokey, and
George Clooney with the nipples.
Yeah, and all the neon lights, and then Wesley Snipes came in, made everything dark and serious again.
Got intense.
And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm down. I'm down with this.
Make this shit right." Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're trying that again with the new Batman. With the what's his name?
You're absolutely right with the Batman. I just call him the werewolf vampire guy.
I literally almost said vampire dude. I was like, yeah.
But so you're exactly right. Is the Batman timeline? I think will tell everybody. It will inform everybody about like your culture and age bias. Because when I look at the new one, I'm like, the vampire guy. He's not Batman. But for the younger generation,
They don't even know what the vampire. They don't. Even, what is that shit even called? Twilight. They don't. That shit don't mean nothing to them.
they probably look at him and give him a clean slate, or say he's cool, or say he's whatever.
He's a hot guy. Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll let him be Batman. And in my mind, like, yeah, Michael Keaton definitely gets a shout out, but Buddy, Batman, like what?
Christian Bale.
Like he's Batman for real.
He's Batman for real. For real.
Yeah, and so I'm like, who this new guy? He's too. Didn't he like have glitter face in the sun?
What do you call it? The eyeshadow was funny.
Yeah,
It was the first time they'd ever, because usually Batman, what's his name? Christian Bale didn't have eye black, but usually they'll have the Batman have like the eye black on, and they don't show it taking off. And there's a part that I can't even remember who the director is for the movie, for the newest one.
Yeah.
But he talks about that. He's like, I wanted to make sure that the eyes were. I fuck with it. It was cool, but again, I'm trying.
It's hard to mess up Batman.
I'm trying also not to be the old nigga where it's like, I should for everything I take in, I just kind of take it for what it is, and I don't want to have a hateful attitude to something.
I don't want to have a hateful attitude.
No,
I tell you where it's easy is Transformers. They definitely fucked up Transformers.
Yeah, and that's funny because like, Shia LaBeouf is like that guy.
What happened to him?
Entertainment. I mean, yeah, we were just talking about him where during COVID they did a reading of Fast Times at Ridgemont High on Good Morning America, where they had all these celebrities come and zoom in.
Ah, okay.
And Shia was reading for Spicoli, Sean Penn's character, and Sean Penn is on the Zoom.
Yeah.
But
Hey, bud.
But exactly. But Shia was wasted or on mushrooms or something. And he was like on Zoom in his car outside, smoking cigarettes, just ripping through these lines. And like that was the last I'd ever seen of him. There's a lot of interesting stories with him where he had like his art exhibit, the sex art exhibit. It was like you can do anything you want to him. That's what the art exhibit was.
Interesting fellow, because I want to say because there was a moment there where he was doing quote unquote weird stuff just on a regular basis, and that's what his persona was, like the bag on his face or whatever. And I think he did one where he just sat in front of a girl for an hour and they just didn't talk. They just looked at each other for an hour, which if you just say that on paper, you're like, that's okay, different. But I couldn't imagine just maintaining eye contact with somebody for 60 minutes in a row. that's borderline
without
insanity.
without riffing, you got
without
nothing.
I would implode.
I know.
But he has that thing where he was a child star.
I mean, yeah, and that's something that it we got a semblance of like, what do you call it, attention. We're obviously
You have a good set. You're on top of the world.
You feel. Imagine that at 9.
Imagine that every minute of every day.
Everywhere you go.
It's. I just walked off the stage after a good set. It's just your
billboards
being
in Hollywood with your fucking face on it.
My girl was just showing me this morning. She's like, I think I found like the next new thing, and it's like a dude on TikTok. I don't have TikTok. She does,
Okay.
so I still
Good
have
for you.
TikTok.
Good for you.
What did Samuel L. Jackson say? My girl's a vegetarian, which basically makes me a vegetarian. So I don't have TikTok, but she has TikTok.
My girl has TikTok, so I basically have TikTok.
I basically have TikTok. And she's showing me this dude, and he can't be 12, 13 years old, and he's I mean, he's just living his life on the camera, and he has personality. He has an image. He's, high. Somebody would say he has ADD, but he's focusing it in through his phone. And I think the clip she's showing me has like 1.7 million likes or something like that. Which, if that's how many likes, God knows how many plays it has.
Oh, I know.
And forwards. And when I was sitting there looking at it, and I was talking to her about it, I was like, okay, so when I was growing up, basketball, football guy was the star. If somebody, could freestyle or whatever and rap, he's another popular kid or whatever. And they're shining. But the dynamics change now. If you're a viral whatever, and then you go to school, and then you just go to school, and you're what?
And we're talking about this with kids at this point.
Yeah.
How old is this guy? He said probably 12.
He's got to be 12 plus or minus.
So it's funny because as obviously as hard as that is to grasp at a younger age, because again, like I said, the internet thing was like a part of my life. Like I had Twitter in high school, and I'd gone viral like a couple times. Mm-hmm. And going viral in 2010 was like different.
Yeah,
200,000 retweets in 2010 was like a
That's super viral. Yeah.
Now it's like people get millions of likes on anything.
Yeah.
But the same impact, you can see how intense that attention is, because it not only impacts the way a child maneuvers, but the way a regular adult in their life maneuvers.
Oh, yeah.
A regular person will be at work, make a TikTok, it'll blow up, and then that's not what they do on TikTok.
Yeah.
It'll be some mom wearing a dress and her titties popping, and everyone's like, titties popping, and then the rest of her videos are now just bouncing with her tits, and it's like, oh, you've tapped into this crazy dopamine feeling that is literally...
social lottery.
It's wild. It's wild, and like, that's what I was talking about with somebody where like they used to do like kooky stories on the news, and if something was big enough, it would become very popularized and things like that. But we need one-hit wonders for virality.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't allow someone's virality to keep them in the zeitgeist. People make one stupid video, a stupid thing, and then now their life. The guy drinking cranberry juice on a skateboard.
Oh yeah.
Gets a fucking multi-million-dollar deal, whatever. From it's, I obviously that viral thing should happen and should be fun, but there needs to be like a reality where they have to, like, after you go viral, they should just sit you down at the table and be like, hey.
The shelf life for any news now is so short. Like the guy on skateboard drinking the cran apple, singing that song or whatever. He put out good vibes. Who knows where he was skating or what he was, but for him to get, any kind of multi-deal or a projection from a company.
Interviews, fucking appearances, all these things. His life changed during the pandemic so intensely off that one video.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some, and that's the thing where it sucks, where it's like, okay, obviously if it's like, someone's singing on the street or something like that, and you catch that, yes, utilize that. Now this is an artist, you can, whatever. We're in comedy. But even the comedy thing too, where it's like, a viral moment on a clip doesn't make you a good comic.
Yeah.
And or not, I'm sure we know a bunch of people that are very funny that do not have the presence online for whatever the case or reason may be.
Yeah.
And there's so much power and pressure put on this thing that is like just a applesauce fucking... It makes my brain feel like good. It makes me feel good.
It is a part of the human experience now. I mean, we're talking about it, but literally taking part in it,
Contributing to this will be on there.
Yeah. Because it's unavoidable to a large extent. In order to avoid this, you have to put in more effort than to be a part of it.
Yes.
You have to build a bunker, out in the field in West Virginia.
I've got a buddy in Boulder, and he never was on social media at all. Maybe I think he just had Snapchat at a certain point and like Facebook when we were in college. But he moved out there, and now he's got like in a serious relationship, but he's like just super off everything. And he was like, "Do you know how hard it was to date?" To go out and meet people. He's like a handsome, fun, cool guy. Like, I don't have Instagram, and that would just completely turn people off.
Yeah.
And again, I've tried it. I took like a month off social media last year. I've been trying to figure out how and when I want to do it again. But I mean, I envy that life.
Yeah.
So much.
I can also understand why, because my initial subconscious thought would be, "What are you hiding?
Oh, yeah.
Like, why aren't you doing the thing that we're all doing?" And I can put it in perspective in my mind as far as like, I stopped drinking 5 years and some change ago. If I'm around somebody and they don't know that, and we're at a bar or something, or if I have a show and somebody in the audience, "Hey, you want to drink?" I'll say it politely. No, thank you. "You sure, man? Come on, have a drink." And it gets to the point where I have to say like, I stopped drinking or whatever. And then people all of a sudden, so you're better than me now? You judging me? Yeah, what? Yeah, what's going on? Like, you super religious, or like it's there's a ping, and you don't have enough time to go back through that guy's life and understand why he decided to hop off the socials. And I can admire it, but my initial thing would be like,
well, yeah.
Where'd you move from?
It's like when someone says they're sober, it's like, "Oh, so what was your wake up?" Well, yeah, it's like asking that question. It's like, "Oh, well, I was liking ass pictures when I was in a relationship," and he's like, "So then I had to get rid of it then," and I just stayed.
And now that's a thing when it's like, no, it's not a thing for me. Like, it was brand new to you. I'm 5 years in, and it's not a thing. But it can be a shock to people's systems. But there's like no turning back, and I don't want to turn back. I'm not gonna poo poo it. I'm not as invested in it as some people. But I didn't even think about what you were saying, that like real estate agents and
it's chefs, everything.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course. What egos do you see on the high level? Because you have access to the A plus in this particular career field. So the same as I'll say, for instance, like. If you're ever on the street or in a scenario where you meet somebody that has a lot of money, or somebody that's a CEO of XYZ, or somebody that's a founder of a company or something like that, you don't really have to ask them. They walk around with that.
You're going to smell it on them.
The vibe will be on them.
So this is actually very funny, because the initial question about what do I see, those egos that I see.
Yeah.
The two biggest things that I think truly successful people in all those industries would all fall into this category. The biggest ego things that I see are disrespect of people and disrespect of time. And I think
expand on that, yeah.
Like in the example of the comedy thing, where it's like, if the comic that's coming is disrespectful to the servers, to the staff, there's not a sense of like. And again, I understand it's work. I'm a comic too. I go and meet, but you can still be a human. It's still just like. But some people walk in there like it's their house.
Yeah.
And they, the blatant arrogance that comes with just being, a headliner,
high level, right?
Yeah, whatever. But and the time thing, where again, comedy is a very time sensitive production. We have multiple shows. We all want to go home, whatever the case may be, and 15 minutes, 45, whatever the conversation is, for how much time you're doing. But some people feel entitled to do X amount of time and then do more, do whatever, running that light is such a real fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
To not just the comics, not just the staff, the people that are there, so many factors of it.
It is a part of the business. There is no if, it's when, and who.
When and who. And I was talking to a server that worked at a comedy club in New York, and they were like, yeah, like when Dave comes, it's more of a production and actually sucks for us because it just ends up being 2 hours of just drunk rambling, and like the people that they have to lock their phones, they got to reset everything, and then people don't, they're excited because it's cool with them. They're like,
oh, you're gonna do 2 hours 46 minutes
because you don't want to miss it, you don't want to leave, and then he just keeps going, and you're like, I can't even check my phone, it's locked up. It's, I don't even know what time it is. Like
I just saw that not too long ago. Chicago-based comic who has Netflix specials and everything like that, and he was at a theater out here, and he just. You could tell he was blitzed out of his mind. He was floating in the clouds, feeling no pain, and he did like an hour 40 something, and a decent amount of it was just crowd work. He was taking his time. He was in slow motion, and he was just taking his time. He'd do a bit, and then he'd do 20 minutes of crowd work in between his next bit, and after a while, and. There's pockets where it's hilarious, especially he's doing his bits, and some of the crowd work was
professional,
working.
yeah.
But then after a while, you're just like my ass is literally hurting.
How many careers are we going to learn about today?
Yeah.
Like, how many couples are we going to break up today?
To go back to what we were kind of talking about in regards to, the virality and who it affects, young, old. I mean, shout out to the angry nana that your kid was recording and said, "Grandma, I left the stove on." What? You gonna blender that? And all
I love those simple, silly videos. That it's always the grainiest, crust, just shake, as loudest videos. It just brings so much real, pure joy
to these young cats that go viral, and you're like there used to be. XYZ amount of child stars I had to deal with, the Shia LaBeoufs, the Home Alone kids, the pick whoever, but you take it to, and this rocked my brain when I saw it, and I didn't see it too long ago, maybe a couple months ago. Came on my feed that once upon a time Michael Jackson rented out a shopping center. And had to hire actors to just shop so that he could walk around and get that experience. Mark you, even him wanting to live like, us normal people, he was still like moonwalking and twirly birding in the aisles and going and like knocking cereal boxes on the ground. Like he'd even do it the right way.
Michael Jackson stories, Michael Jackson lore. I'm sure you, same as being a black person that is of a certain age.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
Well, I was there for like people who think there's an argument between LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Like if you were there for it,
yes,
then it's different. It's soaked into your soul, right?
That's the way my parents. The way I believe in that, and obviously I was alive when he was alive, and I grew up listening to him. But like the way my parents speak about seeing him, that's engraved in my head. That you can't convince me otherwise. When people ask like, "Oh, who's more known or who's more impactful, like Drake or Michael Jackson?" Or like Drake, it's like, "Oh, I'm bigger than Michael Jackson." It's like. You don't all understand.
And people will also say things are different now in the NBA with the rules and things are different now with social media and performance and all that. You understand there was a certain point in time where there was not a whole lot of channels on the TV, and Michael Jackson would be on like 5. It was the president could interrupt TV like that. A massive tornado or war, and Michael Jackson's new video, they would put it on ABC, NBC, blah, 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 blah.
Like a main event.
And you would watch the videos of, and you're like, yeah, people should pass out at his concerts.
And people think like, oh,
lose consciousness.
This person is famous in America. It's like, no, we're talking global. Global before. What do they call the thing that people? Globalism, I guess, is what people are going for. That people hate. Whatever. Now we're trying to incorporate.
That's it. There was countries that did, "Death to America, you burn, I will die." Ooh, Michael Jackson.
But Michael Jackson is okay.
Man in the mirror.
Exactly. Yes.
And they were.
And meanwhile, Michael Jackson's throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars to fucking like nothing. I mean, a different version of. But there was like, I can't remember who was talking about the interview, but there are stories about Michael being like, he's still a nigga from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
And apparently, like off camera, it was very different back then as far as like how much you actually saw of him. But he moved differently, and he did some like thug ass shit, and exactly the thing where the entertainment side of he rents out this shop at the mall. He's not even just walking around; he's still performing. He's like it's a character beyond itself, and he can't be him. I mean, uncut Michael Jackson though. What I would pay to see that.
Who's the guy from Hell's Kitchen? The chef Gordon Ramsay?
Oh yeah. Is he from Hell's Kitchen? I didn't realize that.
I'm pretty sure that's the Hell's Kitchen guy. I
Oh,
could
the
be
show
wrong.
Hell's Kitchen. Not
Yeah.
I thought you were saying physically from.
Oh,
yes.
from like somewhere
York.
in New York. Yeah. But so with social media now and the prevalence of cameras, recording devices, and be able to upload, you get to see the ingredients that go into the literal and figurative ingredients that go into the recipe. Like Gordon Ramsay, if there was no social media, you would just go to his restaurant and taste a meal that you're like, this is incredible. I could tell a lot of high level
Skill.
attention to detail, skill, time, patience went into this. But now you could see that if you're going to be a boss, if you're going to be the best in your field, if you're going to be chances are you have to be an asshole. We found out about Ellen DeGeneres.
That one was.
We found out The Last Dance came out, and you really got to see, in order to win 3 championships in a row, take time off, come back, win 3 championships in a row, you might punch your teammate in the face. You might do. It's so cold when you see that one where Jordan's like on the practice court and he's like, tss. Like you'd be terrified.
Mamba mentality.
You get the net, rest in peace Kobe Bryant, but now you're getting teammates saying, like I just saw one, I want to say yesterday, they were saying who was it, Pau Gasol or somebody was
the US.
Oh no, it was oh damn it, Bill Walton's son, Luke Walton got put in the game in like the fourth quarter or something like that, and the Lakers were down, and it was the last couple of seconds, and Kobe Bryant had the ball, did a move, kicked it out to Luke Walton. Walton took it, threw it back to Kobe. There's still like 2.3 seconds left, and Kobe just slammed the ball into the ground. Didn't even take the shot because Luke passed it off to him after he, did the ISO, set him up, and was like, if he didn't want to be in the game, then he shouldn't play. He's only here because he's such and such a son. And it's like, in order to achieve greatness at a high level, and so when you think about Michael Jackson, you see the but he made it there because he was a goddamn terrorist.
They were like,
when the cameras weren't rolling.
They were like, yo, Mike, one glove? He's like, yeah, one glove. And they're like, what about the other glove? Like, don't worry about the other glove.
Yeah.
That's a decision he made.
Can I ask who gave me my socks? There's 483 sparkles on the left sock and only 379 on the right. Like somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, and I mean that's the crazy. Not even crazy. It's an admirable thing where attention to detail is important, especially in high value production things. Like, I didn't go to Taylor Swift's concert, but everyone I know who went, and talking to boyfriends who were dragged there, that's exactly what they said. They were like, I'll tell you this right now. They're saying the same thing about 50 Cent show. 50 Cent, and I think Drake also, someone I knew, whatever the case may be. But these events and shows that they're putting on, like, they have to be sticklers. They have to be type. Like, they got to set. You can't be apathetic and be like, it is what it is. Like, fuck it, we'll figure it out. It's like, no. You got to set it.
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you, Taylor Swift is more like Kanye West than people would like to agree.
Oh, yeah. They're the exact same person, essentially.
If you think that she's selling out entire states, not even stadiums,
changing GDPs.
Yeah. If you think she's doing that and she's just in there like, I love the world and okay, no, that design looks good. No, she's in there ripping assholes apart. Man, woman, young, old, black, Puerto Rican, or Haitian. She is a boss. She has to be. There's no way for her to be able to be at that level. And the atmosphere around her is also bosses, and she has to be the king boss.
So it's funny you say that. So I just started watching Billions. I've never seen it before, but it's a great show.
Heard of it, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
It's worth watching. I like watching, like, the writing in it is very, like, the dialogue is very intense, but it's like essentially like a
Dan Soder's in it too.
yeah. Dan Soder and Mike Birbiglia, and but essentially it's like a Jeff Bezos-esque guy versus the state's district attorney that's like trying to catch him in SEC. It's corrupt stuff. But oh fuck, why did I bring that up? Hold on, Billions.
We were talking about Mega Mogul Minds and
Mega Mogul Mind is nice. Oh yes. So we're like, these guys got to be killers. To be at that level, they got to be ruthless motherfuckers.
Hell yeah.
And everyone's like, Jeff Bezos, these guys are all such scumbags. I'm like, you know who I think is probably the craziest, way more ruthless scumbag? They're number 2.
Oh yeah.
The guy who's does what needs to be done for this person. That motherfucker will actually like threaten your life and like blackmail you. Like we're talking about billions and billions of dollars, like political pressure, things like that. There are people that move like that.
Yeah.
You'll never hear their names, you'll never know them. But when a Trump has something that needs to get fixed, when he has these documents he needs to hide, there's a guy he calls. Who the fuck is that guy?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of the 48 laws of power is that you keep your hands clean. But in order to keep your hands clean, you got to have somebody that's out there getting their hands dirty. Yeah, for sure. And you're absolutely 1,000% right. But there's cases for both of that, though, right? Because then you have like Steve Jobs, who, and then the guy under him was like Steve Wozniak or whatever, right? Who was the beta. But he was also... So that's interesting that you said that, because then it just has to be the power dynamic, right? Because Jeff Bezos comes across with that smooth da-da-da-da-da. So he probably does have a killer for a number 2.
Oh, yeah.
But Steve Jobs was a killer as a number 1. But in order to keep people from just revolting and walking out the door, you got to have a teddy bear as a number 2.
The other guy right there.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't consider that number 2 as more so like... He made him number 2, if that makes sense. So Steve was integral to it.
Yeah.
So there's no getting around his impact of value, and I think Steve was, they're both named Steve.
Yeah.
Jobs was aware of Wozniak's value.
Yeah.
But he's such a killer that he needs to like publicly show that he's number 2, when in reality he knows they're on the same playing field. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happened with BlackBerry.
Same thing happened with McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
the guys were teddy bears. They just wanted to make good food quickly. And then what's his
fucking
what's that guy's name?
What is his name? Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, I forget the name of the guy.
Kroc.
Ray Kroc.
Kroc.
And he came in and he was a killer. And he was like, I'm devouring everything in my path. And then by the time they even noticed that they got hoodwinked, it was too late.
That's why it's funny when it comes, especially like tying it back to the comedy thing, where like people are mad at other people for working hard and like and having that killer mentality and what they like, this and they take seriously. And like people forget, they don't, people are annoyed by that. But it's just like, if you're annoyed at this level, you ain't ready for what's going to come.
No.
Even one level up.
No.
People don't realize that these people that are like agents and managers and like the high earning individuals on the back end of entertainment, they're not just maybe some of them are just somebody that got hooked up with a cool internship, but most of them are like Harvard or like Stanford or like big business smart guys, very intelligent, ruthless motherfuckers.
Yeah, which is just to say the pedigree of what they had to navigate through.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to get through the Harvey Weinstein offices.
If you're from the streets or you're from Stanford, there's a pedigree of what you have to get through. If you're a gangster from Vermont, people aren't going to look at you with the same pedigree as if you're a gangster from pick a spot in Chicago.
Yeah. You can be from fucking Evanston and be like, still
because you're just going to say Chicago when you're out of town.
Yeah,
hell yeah. No, that's an interesting perspective. It's on a high level. I I was trying to think. So when you are noticing these big shots, are you seeing people that are well adjusted, that are, at the high level, but they're, they still have their ego intact? Because also too, I don't want to just constantly poo on, hey, somebody's at a high level and they were a jerk when I saw them and da da da. Please have bad days. Please understand that, we're all human beings. And maybe you just got screwed over by XYZ agent or XYZ club, or a whole franchise of clubs, and you're looking at it the same way that we might look at it, like, oh, you're an XYZ kind of personality type. Maybe this person got put through the ringer at XYZ particular
they're
club
fed up, yeah.
over and over and over again. So by the time they get there, they already have a predisposition on whoever the showrunner is, whoever the main producer is, whoever the owner is.
Their last experience there, like any memory or trauma that might be associated with that place.
And their agent is like, hey, buddy, I need my 10% and you got rent to pay. So you can shut up and head over to...
All that's being said, you're not fucking moving tickets.
Yeah.
You got a delayed flight. All these little factors that make your day that worse.
Yeah.
It's 4 degrees outside of Chicago.
And then you got to sit down and tell dick jokes.
Your ex-wife or your girlfriend is fucking bitching at you, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And no, I'll say this. I've encountered, and this is outside of comedy, just in general with human people. Mm-hmm. I've encountered a lot of assholes, but I appreciate all the very good people that exist.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, an asshole will exist in anything you do. But in the entertainment facet of it, or at least the comedy aspect of it, like, you meet these people and you're like, damn, you're a dickhead, but I don't need to really, like, worry about you. I just know that you're this person. Yeah. But when it's overwhelmingly more most people are dope as hell. Most people are. And again, maybe there's an aspect of it because I'm a young comic, so, like, I'm not too big of a Jerry Seinfeld fan, but he always says, like, if I was to go anywhere in the world and sit at a restaurant or a bar and sit next to the person next to me and he's like, hey, I'm going to open my comic here. Like, we're automatically, like, together. Like, that we're automatically part of the same thing, which is, I agree with. But it's very nice when huge theater acts, these guys are fucking multi-millionaire. Like, these guys are the top shit. Yeah. The coolest guys you can, without name dropping. And just to, like, sit and have a beer with them after the show or talk and bum a cigarette or whatever the case may be, where it's like, they're just nice dudes, and they, and that's the thing I think that I hate the most about. I want people to turn off that part. Yeah. The killer thing we're talking about.
Going exactly back to what you were saying is that it's the same, just the next level up. I believe the same thing absolutely, and some comedy buddies or whatever, when we're talking shop, I'll say, hey, that personality type that you're talking about right there, is keep an eye out, because you're gonna see that the next level up, the guy that's taking bits, or the guy that can't stop talking about how cool he is, or the guy that lies about what he's doing.
Anybody that trash talks someone to you is trash talking you to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Anyone who's digging for information is looking to use and
when you get to the next level, you're seeing them. In a large part, you're seeing them at the white belt level, the yellow belt level. There's a blue belt, purple belt, black belt level, a master with a long white beard sitting on top of a pole.
Then there's Goku up there.
Yeah, and there's Ultra Instinct up there that's doing that. You don't have to. You can get successful being a piece of garbage.
One would say it's actually a lot easier that way.
If you don't have a conscience and you just railroad
Eater
over everybody. Yeah,
like, morality doesn't serve you well in success, unfortunately. Which is it's a testament to our society. That's just how the aspects of what do you call it, like capitalism or winning. I don't know how to. I might be using the wrong terminology for this, but there's no balance in any business deal. Someone loses. Yeah, which it shouldn't be like that.
I mean, it shouldn't, but I think the heart of capitalism is it will be.
Yeah, of course.
That's how it goes.
Like, I wish that everyone could be as supportive and as helpful as I'd like to be myself in comedy. People pretend that there isn't enough stage time, or there aren't enough people that could buy tickets. You could have every single space of comedy available in Chicago with full showcase lineups, all sold out to the gills. There are still comics available to do comedy, and there are still people that are able to buy tickets.
Oh yeah.
You can sell at every venue between
Yeah.
all of them, and they have 6 comics on each show, and you can still go through all those clubs. What is it? Let's say 8 clubs, 50 people, and there's still another 50 great comics that you could. So there's plenty of space available. That's what I'm saying.
2 million people in the city of Chicago, and I think 7 point something
Chicagoland.
in the Chicago land.
Willing to drive 40 minutes.
You won't. Yeah. That can get to anywhere in the city in an hour plus minus. It's not going to run out. And laughter isn't helium. There's not a X amount of it in the universe. It can just keep.
There's so much variety of it, and so many different varieties of people that are entertained by different varieties of comedy.
Yeah.
Well, just because you look a certain way that you're expected to like certain comedy or not like certain comedy.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
there's plenty of hustlers in the city where their comedy isn't my brand. It's not anything that I necessarily find entertaining, but I tip my hat to them because they're out there
Crushing.
over hustling.
Oh yeah, and over
putting
hustling.
asses
Yeah.
in seats. Now, mark you, in my heart of hearts, I'm looking at their audience like, are you kidding me?
Well, that's the aspect I can tell you that about talking to like big dogs that are doing real well.
Yeah.
I don't mind saying this just because I think it's important for the state of comedy.
Yeah.
But Shane Gillis, shout out to the
Yeah.
GOAT.
Shout out.
So he had just dropped a special. His first, it's just his first time coming to Zanies, and he's doing the sold out weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about Trump a bit, and he brings up Trump, and then the guy was like, "Woo!" And it was like a very common occurrence where he was like, "Don't worry, buddy. Like, hold on. You don't know how this is gonna go." And then we're sitting and we're drinking after the show, and I asked him, I'm like, "What's it like for your audience to be like too dumb to realize that they're the punchline?" He's like, "It's infuriating when they buy tickets."
Yeah.
And then I talked to somebody else about it where it's like, at a certain point, your success transcends your audience. Where like the people you're making fun of actually now are like in the following you, and they don't even realize that they're the asshole in the situation. They're they're new comedy fans, and I mean you're doing 5,000 seaters. There's gonna be a few dickheads in the crowd that you don't want to hang out with yourself. And God bless them again. I'm not here to hate.
Yeah.
But I do like I like a good comedy fan, if that makes sense.
I do truly appreciate like a savvy comedy fan.
When people were at the club and I asked them like, who are your favorite comics, and like when I was in Austin, or no, where was it? I was in Dallas or something, not Texas because it wouldn't have been Texas. But I'm at a bar and I'm just talking to this the bartender about how I have a show, and she's like, "Oh, cool." And she's like, "I don't really watch too much comedy, because I like comedy though." I'm like, "Oh, who's some of your favorite comedians?" And she said Ron White. She was 22 years old saying Ron White. I'm like, this tells me all I need to know about you, and I like you.
Yeah,
it's a great comedy
exactly.
actor. When people know who Patrice O'Neal is, when people say certain names like that, I'm like, you don't need to answer anymore.
Yeah.
But there are certain answers people can give. Viral people, whatever, online. I'm like, all right, this is kind of giving me a vibe, but
that's a hard one because I think you're absolutely right. But then if that's their in. Who's buddy pretty boy that everybody
Matt Rife.
Okay, so with him, how many of his fans, just to throw a number out there, 50% of his fans could care less about comedy, which as far as a human being goes, I've asked people recently because I'm promoting and I got things going on, and I ask somebody that I don't know, hey, are you into comedy? And they're like, not really. And it's that or music too. It's like, hey, you're into music. When somebody says they're not into music, I'm like, I don't even know how we can even have a conversation about anything at all. Like I don't care who you're voting for. I don't care what shape you think the planet is in. But you're not into comedy or music. What
is your family life like?
What's going on in here?
Yeah, how do you date?
Yeah. What are you thinking? Like, what are you doing when you're cleaning up the bathroom?
You just
trying to get rid of all the other COVIDs, huh? You don't live with comics, do you? Like you're an animal.
Yeah, the Matt Rife thing was funny because again, it's exactly that. Where like I remember after the whole reaction came out from his special, where there's some girl that was making a TikTok complaining about it. She was like, I went and saw his show when he was here in April, and then I watched the special, and like it's the same show. Like what the fuck? Like why would I go to your show if you're just gonna put it on Netflix? And I'm like, this is exactly what we're talking about here. Where like you don't even see how awesome or what that experience is like.
Yeah.
You saw the show live. And now it's on Netflix. But she knows so little about comedy.
Yeah.
It's such a foreign concept to her that she doesn't realize she watched that thing be built, and that's all you need to know about
But
the
for
fan
the
base.
fishers that throw that big net out there to catch, I don't know, fucking tilapias, every now and then they get like a crab or a grouper or a
Something.
dolphin.
Or a water bottle.
Yeah, and it's like, gotta toss this out. But for all the fish that they're catching, how many of them are gonna hop on and then now be a part of the thing? So I tip my hat to him. Is his audience ever gonna find me, my stuff? Chances are unlikely.
Maybe.
But it's a bigger group that will come to comedy as a whole, which I appreciate, because that's the water that rises the tide for all the ships. Yeah,
with seeing those viral stars, or seeing people like that at the club and talking to their audiences when they come in, I'm like, "Oh, this is your first time here?" Generally, yes.
Yeah,
and I'm like, whatever experience they had, more often than not, they have a good one with whoever they saw from something they've been following for 2 years. But I'm like, just recognize that this building exists. And this is an option for you on a night out. That's the one aspect of comedy that I think is so cool. Where you can go to a karaoke bar, you can go bowling, you can go, and this is a thing you can do.
Yeah,
you will purchase tickets, you will see a professional, well-run show, and also just a cool historic space. So as far as tourism goes, that's part of going there too. But anywhere that you go. Whether it be an improv in the middle of nowhere in fucking, Des Moines or something like that. It's like, if that person came and saw Matt Rife, and maybe they like the host or the feature, or maybe they see the calendar and they see somebody else.
Yeah.
They saw, Craig Robinson from The Office. They're like, oh, I like The Office.
Yeah.
Let's go watch him. And now that they know that this is an option, good. That's all I want.
Exactly.
All I want is people to recognize, because there are, still a number of people that have never been to a comedy show. They've only watched comedy from their homes.
Can you name a show ever where the host was like, "Is this anybody's first time?" There's never been a not somebody's first time.
Yeah, it's always.
Every single time, it's multiple clap.
You can get no out-of-towners, but you'll never get a not first time.
Oh, for sure.
You get a whole room, and we're all from Chicago. Literally, the whole building's from Chicago. Like, all right, yeah, cool.
For sure. And I used to call it the DMX effect. But I recently, because DMX, whether you grew up with him or not, pick any clip of DMX anywhere, and if it's 3 people, 30 people, 30,000, if it's whatever, he's all the way turned up. However high the dial goes, he broke the knob, went in there, engineered it, and moved it up another, times 10, and that he's gonna overshow. And I think I saw somebody, might have been a basketball highlight, that was like, I gotta overdo it every night because it might be somebody's first time.
Yes.
And I recently saw that me and my girl, we went to our first Bulls game, and it was this is a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not gonna lie, it was my first NBA game live, and we were playing Minnesota, and by the time we got there, it was already in the middle of the second quarter. Bulls down by 22 points. Ended up being a rally. We don't have Zach LaVine, but Kobe White from Tar Heels, he at the second half he got the touch. He caught fire.
I think I was working when that game was going on. I was hearing people talk about it when I was going in and out of the break.
It was insane. And then so this is my first time, her first time. We're at the game. We're down. It's not looking good, And then somebody gets the touch. He can't miss. Every move is butter. It's incredible to watch. We go into overtime, win in overtime, and we were both like, there's nothing. We were on a high when
incredible experience.
We walked out. We might as well have been on the team.
Yep.
I lost my voice halfway. We're both going crazy. The whole stadium standing up in the last seconds of because we had a chance to win in the last seconds of regulation. The whole stadium standing. It's bananas. We win in overtime, whatever. And when I walked out of there, I was like, every time I hit the stage, it's going to be somebody's first time. I'm literally contributing. I'm making a core memory to a person anytime I'm on stage of what comedy is.
Yep.
And there's a certain sense of duty that, all right, I should probably try my best.
I mean, the That's the craziest thing about comedy, that it feels and looks so lax. But it's nothing. It's like and everyone feels that way at a certain point. Like I'm sure. I don't know if you were doing comedy before you quit drinking, but like, everyone's like, I want to be the cool guy. I got a beer before the show. I'll go smoke this joint. It's like, this is work still.
You're on the clock.
So like, be probably as sharp as possible. And
now there are Ron Whites, and shout out to all the Chicago comedians I know that can smoke 3 blunts before they. But those are like Snoop Dogg kind of people who that's their baseline is smoking. If I try and smoke and go on stage, I'm sorry I wasted your money.
Yeah, I know. That's like, and even still, as great as especially the good old Chicago drunk comic. Oh, we know some killers that can rip on stage for 45 minutes, wasted. And I'm like,
with the extra H.
Yeah, wasted. Heavy wasted. And I just want to see what they would be like if they got a good night's sleep and like came in, like they don't like. I mean, to each their own. God bless them. But
I was having that conversation recently, separating like the curse from the gift. Like how does that work? I think they're coming out with the new Amy Winehouse movie, and literally separating the curse is kind of what killed her. Like I think I didn't actually read the autopsy, but I think common belief is that like when she stopped everything all at once, it was such a shock to her system. It went into like body shock. She ended up passing away. I could be completely wrong, but I'm
pretty sure that's what it was.
That's what everybody says.
Obviously Amy Winehouse is great, and I get Amy Winehouse and what's her name, the girl from 8 Mile, Brittany Murphy. Her story was crazy, but exactly the same thing, where it was just like there was a lot of back and forth between the drugs and whatever. There was a confusion behind the death, but I'm pretty sure you're correct on the Amy Winehouse thing. I know. I mean, it sucks because I do like, drinking. I like having a good time. And it's awesome that exists in comedy, that I do have the option that if I want to have a drink while at work today, I can.
Yeah.
If I want to go party and do drugs and, create artificial memories.
You're a forklift driver and you're on meth, cocaine, alcohol.
Oh, they are.
Weed. They are, but quietly.
Yeah.
And if you get popped for a piss test, if you're a comedian, they're handing you that in the gift bag.
Yes.
Backstage.
The only reason that drugs would get you caught up as a comedian is if it impacts your ability to travel.
I was on the road not too long ago, and I want to say I was in Cleveland and or somewhere, and they were talking about a high level comedian. You know him. I won't say his name.
Okay.
And they were saying that he was in like before you get on stage, the stage is next to the stairwell, so you're basically waiting off stage in the stairwell of the building. And they were like, yeah, such and such was here, and he was smoking blunts in the stairwell. Now, Mark, he's the talent. He's the headliner. He's the weekend guy. So they can't say nothing to let anybody that paid money to be there. If they were smoking on the street right outside the door guy would probably be like, can't let you in, bro. You know what I mean? Like, this is debauchery. Debauchery is welcome. He used to be a one-liner comic. Everybody considers him legendary. Yeah. Mr. Dogs are always in the push-up position. Like, can you separate the curse from the gift in that case? Because that was kind of a shtick.
Well, I think that's like not entertainment specifically. I mean, generally entertainment, yeah, but like I think that ride is over. Where now it's more
the 27 Club.
Yeah, like it's more common to see people that are in arts or music, whatever, that are just dead sober, and they have turned that off.
Yeah,
and you see, some of the most legendary drinkers in comedy have hung their jerseys up.
Yeah,
and I think now it's become more of a cultural awareness thing, where it's like how many
mental health is like a thing now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a new thing that happened, mental health, and as it turns out, if you drink every night for 15 years straight,
Yeah.
things aren't gonna feel good for you.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Growing up, if you went to a psychiatrist or something like that, you know how like everybody's mom at a certain point just called everything Nintendo. She didn't have time to. So we would just call you. Oh, you went to the crazy house or the funny farm or whatever. Like, but yeah, like I mean, you take some, Kurt Cobain's, Jimi Hendrix, the pick an artist, and it's a shame Chris Farley.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame because if that's what's fueling you in your mind, if that's the key that unlocked the door, then you're like, all right, I need a bigger key for the next door, the next bigger door.
So I'm happy you not bringing it up, but you being a basketball fan. I've talked about this before, but I always talk about like it's like a stupid term, but I say hoopability. How much lost hoopability happened in my high school? They rebuilt my high school. It was an old, rundown, shitty place. It was like very loose. People would smoke inside, and people did whatever they kind of wanted.
Yeah.
Built a state-of-the-art building, so everybody was trying to really revitalize the energy of the school. And the basketball coach was like, "Hey, if you're gonna play on this team, you cannot sell drugs. The starting 6 quit." And these guys were incredible basketball players. We had like a very good team. And all I think about, most of them were like, I got to sell weed to pay for my fucking kid's shit. Like, I need money.
Yeah.
And the idea of hoopability came up where I'm like, think about how many incredible basketball players there were out there that maybe got somebody pregnant or maybe got bought for weed when, in the early
knows that story.
And there's so many guys that could all these things. And then the same thing with in comedy, where how many killers have existed in comedy that just chose the bottle instead, or died, or OD'd, or whatever the case may be. There's got to be, between the 80s and 90s, unknown guys that someone that the best guys are friends with. That they're like, oh man, this guy would have been.
It's a percentage. It's a percentage for sure. Like for out of 10 comics, the ones that are gonna make, and it's a small profession, it's a small job, and the success level I don't think is really all that high. You make 75 grand and above. That's not for a road comic. That's not incredibly hard to do if you're hitting a decent amount of cities. So the success level
But even funny is like to say that it's like that's road comic headliner at the bottom, and they're pissed that they're not doing more, which is crazy.
Which I understand, because I know people that have been murdering on the people that were touched with the gift right out the gate, that even I'm like, shit, hey, I'm putting in work, and I know they're putting in work, but they have all the it factors or whatever. Every now and then somebody gets the blessed exact right time, right place, right form factor. We know a couple of those right now. But for a lot of them, there's a local comic that's exploding right now. I'm happy for him. I hit a couple of stages with him. We both know him. You could probably in your mind think of who I'm even talking about right now. And he just, pew, and I mean like right out the gate, basically in the grand scheme of things, basically right out the gate just went straight to the moon. And I think he even did like a local paper where he was, or a post where he was like, hey, look, for me, I really didn't even do all that many open mics. Like literally on my hand, I can count how many open mics I did. Started getting shows. Things took off. I stuck with it. And, I had a plan, and now it's working out for me. And then, that's the message. And blessing, I don't think he was lying or being
hyperbolic or anything like that.
Or being a douche or nothing like that. Then you take it to somebody you were just talking about with like Shane Gillis, where he talks on his show about being in the open mic circuit and having to go through everybody's path. Like, follow your path, I think is ultimately
that's I've been openly had these conversations with like Harry and just people that I'm close with in comedy, where it's like it gets hard. Obviously, it's tough to get so many wins, but then compare. And I try not to compare wins at all. Yeah, but you do want it to be more consistent. You're like, man, I just need this. I really want this to work. But then you hear other stories, and again, now we're more aware of the flash in the pan success.
Oh yeah.
But we ignore that there's a significantly more 12 plus year success.
Oh yeah.
Everyone we knew was actually successful. They've generally been doing this for about 15 years.
Yep.
And like they are in an incredible level of
And then
success. And it's like it seems like they're all on private jets. Or they're doing these. It's like they've been doing this since 2003,
Killing
working
hours.
And so it's like what was 2008 like?
Yeah.
For this Netflix headliner that we know.
Yeah.
What
exactly?
What was in their head when they're going to fucking Cleveland to do $100 fucking whatever thing and
leveled the room?
Maybe not even. Maybe they were like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, how do I fucking pay rent? Do I quit? Do I give up?"
Yeah.
Again, it all comes down to don't quit unless you're bad. Then quit. But then if you're bad, figure out why you shouldn't. And no one is. Some people are great when they do it, but there's always more to learn, and there's always more growth that can happen in your performance. And but 75,000. Let's say this. Let's say there are 10, which is actually a ridiculous number. What would you say? 10,000 in the country. Let's go America. Title comedian, which is kind of rough to use because everyone calls themselves a comedian now. But someone who's been paid to do comedy before that's actively working. Let's call that number 10,000.
Yeah. I play the same game. Yeah.
Let's then say, of those people that make over $75,000 a year, I'll call it 500.
Oh yeah. And of those, how many are a household name? 7.
Maybe.
And that's depending on who you ask.
And then the scale of that 75,000 to 25 million is very different. Whereas like, this one guy makes 80 grand and he's probably doing it just as long as this guy that's making $1 million a month.
And mark you, I'm a comedy fan. How many of them am I going to, without question, reach into my pocket to break bread to go see him? 3.
Even probably less than that for me. And I love
Mark, you have an inside track. Chances are I could be in the room relatively easily.
That's literally when Tom Segura came. I would have seen him at the Den because I don't ever want to go to a venue I don't want to go to fucking United Center, things like that. I would never ever go see comedy like that. But when Segura was at the Den and I missed that because I was out of town, that's exactly the thing where my friend offered me a ticket to go see him at the big, stadium, whatever thing.
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, chances are I'll probably run into him in the next 5 to 10 years. I'll probably cross paths with him at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, even just a simple, just hey, what's up, but that shit happens. It's crazy. I mean, we're just 1 degree away from the next. It's crazy.
That's to go back before we wrap it up. To go back to kind of what you were saying before about like cool top level folks. There is nothing cooler than being around somebody that's high level. And in my mind and my heart, that's why I love comedians so much, favorite people on the planet. It's because we're so cynical that in the fantasy version of who we are in my mind, there's no room to be holier than thou guy. Like if I meet Jerry Seinfeld and he's Jerry Seinfeld, if you're that guy when I meet you, it's gonna break my heart because I'm gonna look at you just like a douche with an obscene amount of money. But if I meet you and I should be able to have the same conversation me and you have in any green room with Jerry, because what you were saying earlier is that he was saying, we're in the same boat. It's like, all right, cool. So now we can just have a funny story about fucking Bob Dole or whatever, and just jump immediately in the middle of a pointless conversation to get to the bottom of who came up with the half spoon, half fork, and really be intense about those
green room talks. When it could be a simple little like just a question or a story or something that happened, and then now we're like really having a free, like the way that comedians' brains work, and the way that we can openly. And the funny thing is,
and not be offended by anything.
Not be offended, and we're not even going for funny. We're just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Collectively thinking out loud, and like how crazy these concepts and ideas can go. Talking about it, even sports or whatever the case may be, or like music or something, and we'll find a way to become just impassioned by this thing, and then. This is a stranger that I met 10 minutes ago. Just walked into the green room.
And the sparring match of keeping a straight face.
Oh yeah,
and saying the most obscure,
And there's
insane.
just some random girl that came from the show that's sitting up there. She's like, "This is kind of weird."
Why are you guys so serious? But you're just trying to be as fucking out of the universe, left field as possible to see who's gonna crack first.
But it's funny. It's funny. And I don't want to pretend that I, am any better or worse than anybody else. But people that will put on for someone that's in town.
Oh yeah,
they're finagling their way to the green room. They're really sending the bits. They're really like going for it. And I'm like, man, you're really auditioning for this motherfucker right now. It's like, why don't you just be a person? Just relax, just hang out. But to just, I can't hate on anybody doing anything. It's just, but it's funny to watch in real time. It is.
And we know those people too. And it's like, bro, I know you. Stop telling me that you just killed whatever or you just opened whatever. Like, I know your middle name, asshole. Just have what did you eat? I'd rather hear what you had for lunch.
Exactly. What movie did you watch or something?
Really? Pepper jack cheese? Yeah. Where did you get that at?
This is the thing that's been pissing me off the most in Chicago comedy, and I really fucking can't fucking stand it. Oh man, dude, you look like you're fucking crushing it, bro. You don't get the fuck out of my fucking face.
Shut your
goddamn fucking mouth.
You fucking.
You really fucking. Oh man, you're really crushing it everywhere. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. You too, buddy. Is that what you want? Is that what this is for?
Bro, I was just in Winnebago, doo-doo-doo-ba-doo, and I fucking murdered, man, such and such headline, but man, I got him, bro. It was like, what? I'm sick to my stomach. I hate this conversation specifically.
I need people I need you to be critical of yourself as I am of myself. If we're gonna really be transparent friends, be like, man, I had a fucking hot garbage set last night.
That's my favorite thing in the world.
And boy, did I deserve it.
Bomb stories are my favorite thing in the world. I mean, I've talked about it before, and I'll even do that if I'm running mics. I'll announce to the audience. I'll announce to the mic. I'll be like, hey, look, if you're running out of things to say, just tell a bomb story. It never not works.
That's so fucking funny.
Because it's what holds us together. If we were both Navy SEALs and we're at fucking Starbucks or whatever, and I come in and go, man, this last tour I killed like 17 guys. It's your job to go, ugh. Like, I want to hear about you all getting one of your fingers blown off. Mm-hmm. Or, taking one in the shoulder or something. That's the conversation I want to have. The awesome shit you did. I blew up a building. It's like,
yeah. You're really bright. Act like you've been here before.
Yeah, there's a reason why everybody says, yeah, my pop was in Vietnam, and he never talks about it.
Yeah. They give each other a little head nod when they're at Denny's together. They see the hat, and they're like,
you know why he doesn't talk about it? Because you weren't in Vietnam.
Yeah. You couldn't even understand.
You guys don't have anything to relate to. And when him and his Vietnam pals get together, if they're sitting there fucking bragging about doing Vietnamese stuff, they're douchebags too.
Vietnamese stuff is so funny.
Adam, man, this has been so dope.
Thank you so much.
Man, do me a favor. Tell the people how they can find you on your socials, anything that you got going on, anything that you wanted to put out there and promote.
It's Adam Addis Comedy, ADDIS. Adam Addis Comedy on everything. Watch the special on YouTube.
Hell yeah. How do they find it?
YouTube, Adam Addis Comedy. That Colleague's Crazy, that's the name of the special. That Colleague's Crazy, filmed at Zany's last summer.
Jamal, can you put that on the screen?
Shout out. And thank you for supporting live comedy. Thank you for supporting Mike. Mike's a funny ass dude, so I'm happy to do this podcast.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah. This has been Real Rap Podcast again, man. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Check out Adam. I'm gonna have all of his platforms and everything running right about here. So click on that, man. Support him. Support the guys. Support Chicago comedy. Support comedy in general. And make sure you like, share, subscribe. Keep coming back, man. We're gonna keep pumping them out there. Mike Knight, Real Rap Podcast. Peace.
And that's real.